want to go back to technicalities?
That was a baby with its own. Listen, you might not like this. No, that was a baby. Let me tell you something. What you ended was a unique genetic code that had eye color, hair color, how tall it would be, how much it would weigh, its personality, proclivity toward mental illness, what kind of hair pattern to male pattern baldness. When you had that abortion performed, you eliminated all of that. That's a scientific fact.
Time for the latest installment of Change My Mind, where we rationalize our positions on controversial issues. Now, given the recent news, we decided to revisit abortion, and this go around, a lot of notable interactions took place.
Quick question for all the women. Of all of those women that have their hands raised, which one of you would rather be forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy to term?
I would. I don't live in kid.
So it's like once they get pregnant, then it's just like damn, like now I'm not chilling right now. So like they gotta like.
I could take a culture of your skin cells off,
yeah,
and I could be like, oh, that's a human because that's a culture of growing cells.
Nope.
See, like right here, the baby's not ready to go out to the world and like chill, you know. Like they're not ready to go out.
Are you for real with this? The baby's not ready to go out and chill? I'm gonna guess you're 2 years in college right now?
Oh, that's a good guess.
Effectively, it is a parasitic relationship between a fetus and a woman.
Yeah? You're studying philosophy?
Actually, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
I'm here to shut down your bullshit.
As per usual, comment below your opinions on abortion and the current laws, along with which topics you'd want to see most discussed for future installments. Of course, if you want to keep these coming and ensure that long-form conversation like these continue, join Mug Club at louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. And we'll actually have another installment with multiple conversations uploaded soon, but I wanted to give one particular interview its own attention in this episode because of all the Change My Mind segments we've conducted. This one became the most intensely personal.
Hi, how are you?
Meet Yara.
I'm really trying not to. People were hyping my nerves in there. So.
Oh, really? What's your name?
Yara.
Yara Steven, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, Yara. So
before this, I just want to say no personal offense to either one of us.
I appreciate that.
Your opinion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I know you just said you have to calm yourself down because people are hyping your nerves.
I do. I need to calm down for a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you need? You were hoping there was some.
Water?
You know, it's the legality of we can't necessarily give people water because then they go, I got salmonella, and then they point to me. You know, with the YouTube channel. So you seem like you're upset. Obviously, the sign is pretty clear. I'm pro-life. You've been listening to some conversations. If you disagree with my position, you're welcome to change my mind. But you still need to calm your nerves. What are you so upset about?
One thing that definitely really strikes a chord with me is the fact that a majority of women who have actually had to face the choice of abortion, it is because it was either necessary, it was medically necessary, or it was just a decision that really was the fork in the road of your future. Mm-hmm. And from my understanding, a majority of men, I understand they pay child support. I understand that a man is half what it takes to create a child.
Sure.
But when you are by yourself and you are alone and it is dark and you have to face, do I lose my future? Do I throw away my education? Mm-hmm. I can go back. Yeah, you always say I can go back, but that's twice as hard raising a child by yourself. I watched my mom as a single mother, and I don't want that life for myself. And abortion itself, it's a right. I understand the legalities behind late abortion, and I do not support it unless it is medically necessary. Okay. In the terms of it would kill the mother, the fetus is no longer viable.
Can I pause you real quick? Just because you've gone to a few different things.
Yes.
First off, I appreciate you being so forthcoming with your personal story. You didn't have to do that, so I do appreciate that.
I understand a lot of people are not willing to talk about it.
Well, thank you very much. As far as yourself, if you don't want to be a single mother, go through that life, don't have sex, use contraception. See, I'm not against choice. I believe there are 4 choices. Mm-hmm. Abstinence, contraception, motherhood, adoption. I'm just against hold on one second. I'm just against the one that involves killing another human being. And I think it's very important here to go back to the very first thing that you said, which was most abortions are medically necessary, and then you said, or it's a fork in the road in determining your future. Conflating those I think is pivotal because most abortions performed are not medically necessary. You're right with the second half. Most are performed because the mother at that point doesn't want to deal with the consequences of her previous actions.
Can I pause you right there real quick?
Sure, you
Going
can.
back to the 4 choices that you just said, abstinence, which right now, let's realistically look at the rates of teen sexual activity. That's not happening. And
It's a choice,
especially, no, hold on. In this state, we do not recognize sex education for what it is. We decide to teach abstinence instead of safe sex, and that's been proven to not work. Contraceptives. Birth control is a hormone. It will change my hormone balance. It physically changes my body. And in some cases, it can do more harm than good. There are some women who can't take it, who can't handle it. And yes, I understand there's adoption as well.
Well, while we're dealing, by the way, with abstinence, it is a choice. I was abstinent until I got married.
You're a very rare few.
Well, I'm very rare.
Congratulations.
But just because it's rare doesn't mean that it's not a decision.
Well-
Let me finish. Just because it's rare doesn't mean that it's not a decision. Contraception isn't only, hold on one second, contraception doesn't involve only hormonal birth control. It also involves a 50-cent rubber that you could get at a truck stop.
That rubber is not 100%
You're right, it's
effective
not
every
100%.
time.
And every time you engage in sexual intercourse, you know that you are engaging in an activity that could lead to a baby.
And I understand that, but
Correct.
then there's also the fact
And then we said
that-
motherhood adoption. You can continue with those.
Well, I mean, if you want to get into adoption, let's look at the thousands of babies who are in the foster program right now. I mean, I understand not having late-term abortions unless it's medically necessary, but my whole point is women who are pro-choice make this decision, and anybody who wants to argue on a religious basis, at the end of the day,
I haven't.
not you. I'm just saying a majority, like not a majority, a portion of people who do want to make that religious
Oh,
argument.
they're not here. That's irrelevant. So let's just talk about the science.
Well, then in that case, on adoption, let's go back to that. Adoption. Okay. So those children are still in the foster care program right now. Theoretically speaking, let's say abortion was completely taken away. What happens with the influx of births that are going to occur? What's going to happen with the women who don't want those children, who initially didn't want that child and do give them up for adoption? And we have a huge surplus of more children in the foster care program who then will not be adopted, just as the many thousands that are in it right now.
So can I answer that? It sounds to me, first off, like a lot of absolvement of responsibility. But just because someone is a burden, is that how we place value on human life? If someone is more burdensome because they're unwanted, they have no
Do you want to
intrinsic
be
value as a
realistic?
human? No, I want to determine
But
what.
I'm saying like in the sense of burdening.
Yeah.
We don't want to take the burden. I know it's a different topic, but it's just something similar. We don't want to take the burden of some of our mistakes on a day-to-day basis, but yet it's not as polar opposite as this right now. As in the sense of like, I can't bring up other topics because then we're going to get off topic.
Yeah,
so
we'll get off topic.
I'm just going to go ahead. Yeah,
You know, it
'cause I don't
sounds like we're absolving women,
go
both
into
women and
something
men,
else.
by the way. I don't know if you consider yourself, a
no, you're
feminist at all, or but I certainly
I'm not
wouldn't
a
let
feminist.
wouldn't let men off the hook as you are right here. Listen, both women and men have a responsibility to either be abstinent, use proper contraception. It's 2018. I don't believe for a second that people are not aware of the contraception methods available to them. And then also be parents and provide a baby up for adoption.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of services out there. It sounds to me like absolving people from a lot of responsibility, and again, none of this is okay
But some
if
of-
it's a human life.
Some of those government
It's not a
services
choice if it's a
that
human
should
life.
should help deter women from wanting to have an abortion are not as easily acceptable as everybody thinks that they are. Just because you make a certain amount of money per year means that you don't qualify for the government aid, the health care programs that are available. I don't qualify for them. I slipped through the cracks because I am right in the middle. So, because I had nobody to help me, and yes, I can be another person on government subsidies, as well as my child. But Do you really want to pay
Do
for
you have
those
a child?
subsidies? I don't have a child. I'm saying theoretically.
Okay.
Do you want to pay for my subsidies that I would be requiring from the government?
No, of course not.
You don't? No?
No.
Okay,
And I know where this is
so-
going now. We're going to go and say, well, you're not really pro-life unless you support insert socialized program here.
Not necessary.
The difference is I'm pretty consistent across the board. I'm pro-life, meaning you cannot kill another human being inside the womb or outside of the womb. So I think the pivotal question becomes, you talk about the choice. And now we've provided 4 choices. You just believe that you believe it's a human right to provide a 5th choice. So in that case, I think it's very important for you to, I guess, explain to me why that's not a human life.
That's not necessarily something that you can explain according to biology.
Sure it is.
Technically, you can say that it is a human life, but I'm not going to get into that conversation because you can tail dog me all day long on it.
No, I
But
think. Well, hold on a second. Doesn't that matter? Isn't the most important question? If you are potentially killing a human being.
When do you believe that the start? Like, when do you believe that the point of
Hold on a
life
second. Let me continue on. I will answer that question, but let me continue on this logic trail here. If you are advocating for abortion, and we both acknowledge that it could be potentially ending a human life, isn't it important for you to be able to prove that it's not?
Why is it okay to end human life only when the government says that we can?
It's not okay to
Yeah,
end
it
human
is.
life against
Do
one's
you know what
will.
the army does every day?
Well,
Do
listen,
you know
we're
what the
talking about
military
wars.
does every day?
We're talking about wars, and we're talking about self-defense.
And millions of
killing an
civilians
innocent
die.
child. Killing an innocent
Innocent
child. Okay, let me ask you this: you approve of that?
No, I don't approve.
Okay, so then you wouldn't approve of it happening in a womb, correct?
I don't approve
So-
of you saying that a child in a womb is going to be the de facto of what happens in my life, because if I decide to be, if I'm forced
I don't
to
appreciate a person killing another human being. So it does. I get that you say I don't want you to have a say in my life, but I don't want to have a say in your life. I only want to have a say
by
in that
changing
life.
the legalities of the laws that I live, the laws that affect me and the millions of other women that have to have the abortion. Because let me tell you right now,
Half.
a lot of have to have the abortion.
So you only support abortion if it's medically necessary.
No, I didn't say that.
Then what do you mean by have to have?
You're putting words in my mouth.
Okay, so
Because
then what do you mean have to have the abortion then?
as in, it's a choice. If I don't have the abortion, then I have
Well,
to
no.
quit school.
If
I
it's a
have to
choice,
go
you don't
back
have
home.
to have it.
I have to.
Have to implies there's no choice.
There is no choice. Whenever it comes to sitting there and weighing your options and actually having to carry it to term and deal with the already extreme changes that happen in your body, like until you have physically carried something in you, until you have had to face the decision. I'm not saying it's something that's beautiful. I'm not saying that people are out here having tea parties and getting an abortion afterwards. No, it's not pretty.
Well, some
And
people
you know
are. They
what?
were doing the Shout Your
It's-
Abortion campaign.
It's the really ugly truth of what we had to do. There's plenty of other men in history who will say those same words. We had to do what we had to do, whether it be pretty or not. I can understand the moral obligations that you feel,
No, not feel.
and that you
We all
believe
have a
to
moral.
have.
No, we all have a moral obligation to
But-
not kill other people against their will. Period.
If
That's
they
not an
don't
opinion.
have a will because they don't have a thought process, they haven't learned, they haven't been bored. And
What about a
according to
2-month-old
law,
baby? What
until
about a
that
4-month-old
child-
baby? They've never
until
learned
that
anything at that
child
point. They don't have a
has-
thought
yes,
process.
is actually learning.
What about a
from the
person in
time
a
that it
coma?
comes out of the
What
womb.
about someone who's
But
born who's brain dead?
Those who say that, like the law says that a fetus is not a baby until it is viable outside of the womb. Okay. Those same laws and regulations that still constitute someone to be charged with murder or even manslaughter if there was an accident.
There's a difference between
those
what's
should be
law
changed.
and what's moral. Something can be legal and entirely immoral.
Okay, and there's
So
in the sense of
hold
who
on a
does
second.
it benefit though?
Hold on
Who
a
is
second,
it
hold on.
benefiting?
Okay, a good example would be, let's say, slave owners. It was legal at one point and it benefited slave owners, right? They could control
what
the
is-
body. Can I
what is
finish?
abortion
They could
benefiting?
control the bodies of other human beings. Abortion only benefits the people who are killing other lives, often out of convenience. It certainly is harmful to the baby inside of the womb. So I do think it's very important here for you to define what constitutes a human life. Why is that baby, let's say, in the womb? It seems for you, your definition is viability. What constitutes a human life? When is it okay
When the child is viable outside of the womb, and that does not happen
Okay, when's that?
until about 5 to 6 months
Okay.
of pregnancy.
So
And we've already talked about late-term abortions occur in the 3rd trimester. I believe if you've had that baby for 6 months, have the damn baby.
So you're against late-term abortion?
Yes. If it's
Okay.
if it's in, you know, women who do have late-term abortions, they're not out here walking around at 8 months pregnant saying, you know what? I don't feel like having this baby anymore. Let's just get rid of it.
Sure
Kill
they
it."
are.
No, they're not.
That's almost all late-term abortions.
There's a
Later-
majority that
there's-
are medically induced and
No,
necessary.
not a majority.
Well, whatever ones
As a
that
matter
are
of fact,
not,
nearly
then those
never,
are not
nearly
supported.
never is a late-term abortion
Then those
medically
are not what I
necessary.
support.
Okay, so you would be against late-term abortions.
If it's not medically necessary, yes.
Sure. Okay, so you would be against most late-term abortions.
If they're not medically necessary, yes.
Okay, so are you aware of the Born Alive Survived Abortion Infant Protection Act that just was presented and all major Democratic presidential candidates voted against?
What are you talking about?
So here, let me present you this bill, because it sounds like we might find some common ground here. This is a bill proposed for babies who survive abortions.
In terms, what term were they aborted? At what point?
Well, no, this is about all babies who survive abortions, whether it be
but
later term
you
or...
have to ask, what point are these children
Oh, yeah,
surviving these abortions?
You can read it right here. What it basically requires is that doctors simply provide the same kind of medical care to born babies from survived abortions as born babies who didn't survive attempted abortions. Every major DNC candidate voted against that protection. What would you say to that? Does that make it moral?
No, that's not in the sense of like moralities when it comes to having the abortion in general. You're talking about saving a child who did actually survive.
Survive an abortion, yeah.
And in that point, yeah, you do have that common ground.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're talking about today is the initial access of abortions and women who need them.
Sure.
Because
You've
the
not convinced me
majority-
that women need them. Certainly, they don't need them. They don't need to kill another human being.
You may not feel like they need them, but you know what? I'm prospering. I'm actually out here. I'm creating a life for myself, and I'm hoping to make a future for myself. And other women are on the same page as I am.
Are you saying that you've had an abortion? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not going to say that publicly because
Okay, well, you
that's
just
none of
came
your
out here and said
business.
well, you just said I'm prospering. You just brought up abortion, so I'm confused as to the train of
So
logic.
then you
Why
know
does that
what?
matter?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
You know what? I had to sit in that chair and I had to face the facts that yes, what I was doing was something that was going to change my future.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. Because I was left alone. I was left to pay for everything. I did not qualify for any kind of funding or payments that people say exist. And everybody who wants to say I would have adopted your baby, I'm sorry, but go adopt the other 4,000 that are already in foster care programs here. And you can't tell me...
Just because not everyone here would adopt that baby doesn't mean it's justifiably killed.
It doesn't mean that it was justifiably meant to force me to have a baby.
No one's forcing you to have a baby.
You would if you took away the law.
No,
you
no one
would
would be forcing you to have a baby. It would simply be forbidding you from killing it.
No, you would be forcing...
No, no one's forcing you to have a baby.
You know
The only
what?
forcible
I
act
wanna
there is
ask
the
you
act of
how
killing.
many single women, how many single parents who are women are in poverty? Do you know the percentage?
It could not be less relevant.
How is that less relevant? Because I'm going to tell you from a perspective
Well, you just
of
asked
not
me, but
being-
then you said I'm going to tell you. Did you want to ask me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know the
It
percentage?
could not be less relevant because you're not justified in killing somebody based on poverty, income, race, sex, gender, period. It's never justified.
That's hilarious because a lot of our politicians have justifiably killed other people for less.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't, well, okay, I can't speak for all politicians, but to go to your argument, I don't believe you're justified in killing someone because of a lower income level.
I feel like I'm justified in saving myself from having to be forced into that lower income level just because I don't have the accesses of other women who are able to have a husband to support them, have the ability to pay the $15,000 plus in medical bills.
Because like I said,
that
it's hard to go
occur.
back. It's hard to go back when you have a baby. Like you talk about going back to school, it's really hard to go back.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
hard to get educated. It's hard to even support yourself. It's hard to breathe right now as it is.
It's hard to
You
go
can
back in
barely
time
support
and
yourself
unring
as
that
a
bell.
single person.
Yeah. That baby doesn't get to go back.
That baby was never alive
Yeah,
because it wasn't viable until
Yeah, it
it's
was.
outside of the womb. And we want to go
That
back
was a
to
baby.
technicalities.
That was a
and
baby with its own.
legalities,
Listen, you
but
might
that's
not like
your
this.
opinion.
No, that was a
It's
baby. Let me tell you
fetus.
something. What you ended was a unique genetic code that had eye color, hair color, how tall it would be, how much it would weigh, its personality, proclivity toward mental illness, what kind of hair pattern to male pattern baldness. When you had that abortion performed, You eliminated all of that. That's a scientific fact.
The fact is that it was a choice and it was something that had to be done, because regardless of if it's ugly,
It was medically necessary.
No, even if it's not, especially when it's only 6 weeks, and you know the heartbeat law. You're familiar, correct?
Sure.
With the heartbeat law.
Yeah, but
Do
it's
you
not really
support
consistent.
it?
It's not really consistent across the board, though. As we see
But
in
I mean,
Texas, you can
do
have
you
abortions up to
support
20 weeks. No, I believe that life begins at conception.
You believe that life begins at conception.
Yeah.
See, I believe that life begins when the child is
At week 10?
viable outside of the womb within the 3rd trimester.
So you just said viable, but you pointed to 10 weeks.
I didn't technically point at something. You're just trying to get very technical. I just was.
Well, no, I think it's
pointing in
important. Where is a
general,
baby viable?
Broad aspect. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to say that on record and sit here and make myself look ignorant whenever you're probably ready prepared with the facts.
Well, let me ask-
I wasn't prepared for this. I came out.
I appreciate it. Let me ask you this. This is an important question. A human being alive today, are they worth more than a human being alive 200 years ago?
I don't know, are they?
I don't believe so. I'm asking you.
You don't believe so?
No, I don't believe their life is worth more than a human being born 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago.
Okay.
I believe that
Why?
human life is intrinsically valuable.
Intrinsically valuable at
Yes,
any
human
stage
life.
and point,
Yes.
correct?
And right now we're talking about two 25-year-olds. Right, a human being, 25 years old in 2018, 25 years old in the year 1918. Would we agree? Would you place more value on one person in a certain point in time than the other person? Okay, let's go a step further. I don't believe that a wealthy white male on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, I don't believe that his life is worth any more than a poor black female's in Louisiana. Would we agree?
Obviously you agree, but you know what? The way that the laws
Yeah, would
are
you
set
agree?
up, I would agree, but the
Okay,
way,
well, this
but
is important.
No, you're using a theory, because technically look
no,
at
I'm
the
not using any
laws
theory
and look
right
at
now. I haven't made
how
my-
it works
I
and the
haven't
way
made
our
a point.
judicial
I
system
haven't made a
works.
point.
The Manhattan man does actually have more value because he has more money in his pocket.
Well, he
Because
does
he can
according to
buy
you.
out.
He does according to you.
No, according to the laws.
No, according to you, and here's
No,
why.
It's because he can pay that
The
bail
point that I'm
bond
bringing- the
to
point-
get out, and
the
he can
point-
pay for whatever he wants.
I know you said that you're not prepared, and so you don't want me to present the facts, but you're going to have to allow me to do so at some point.
It's not necessarily I don't want you to present the facts. It's the fact that I want you to recognize that there are other people that do actually have an opposing opinion other than yours, that don't believe that life does begin at conception.
That's why I'm here. I recognize your opinion. I recognize you have an opinion, and I recognize you have a right to an opinion. I believe it's wrong.
I believe you're wrong.
That's fine. So let me present my opinion so you fully understand it. You use viability as a measurement for a human being. There are a lot of parameters there that could change it. Now, the reason I bring up someone in the Upper East Side versus a poor person in Louisiana is with the modern innovations in technology and science, particularly medical innovations, you can have a baby that's completely viable in Manhattan, and that exact same baby, that exact same length along in the pregnancy is not viable in, let's say, the hills of West Virginia or in Louisiana because they don't have access to the same medical care. Is one baby a life and one isn't?
I don't understand what you're saying.
If a baby survives because it's born in Lenox Hill in Manhattan at 21 weeks, and that same baby dies in Louisiana, one is a life, one is a human life, and one's not?
I don't understand that you're. Well, are you saying you're
I'm
trying
saying
to
viability
link?
is not standard.
You're trying to link viability to worth.
No, you just said that viability is what determines human life. What I'm saying is that's not consistent. So does that mean that a human life, the value of a life, is different in New York, in the city,
But you're
than in, let's
talking
say,
about
Louisiana?
geographic location. I'm talking
Yes, because
about
that determines
time.
viability.
No, time determines viability.
No, what I'm saying is the exact same time. A baby, let's say 22 weeks along in New York, in the greatest hospital in the country. That same baby, 22 weeks along in the bayou in Louisiana. One lives at 22 weeks, one doesn't because of modern medical care. One is viable, one is not. You believe that that's a consistent measurement of the value of human life?
I mean, is it viable? Viability is the determination on if it's alive. So then no.
It's not.
So it's not viable. If it dies at 22 weeks in one location, whether it doesn't matter its geographical location.
So in your view, people who come from a privileged upper class with better access to medical care are worth more as human beings, certainly in utero.
That's the way our system is set up, and I think it should be changed. You just, shrunk away, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the person who can afford the
Well, the only
medical
difference here
bills
is
and
one
the
of us is saying
person
that it's
who
a
can
life
afford
everywhere. The only difference here is there's one of us saying, if you're going to talk about changing the system, I'm saying we need a system that recognizes human life both in Louisiana, the hills
Why
of
don't
West
you face
Virginia,
the fact
and New
of
York.
why are they, ask yourself, why are these women feeling as though they need one? Why do these women feel as though they can't take care of a baby? Because I can tell you right now, if I had the perfect job, the perfect husband, the perfect life, I definitely would have had a baby.
Well, I tell you what, I certainly don't have any of those things, but I wouldn't feel justified in killing another human being.
Well, there you have it. What do you think? Let me know below. Are you pro-life, pro-choice? Is it determined by socioeconomic status, ethnic minority status, where life begins? Let me know. And stay tuned for part 2 of this edition of I'm Pro-Life, Change My Mind. Hey there, if you like this video, this is the part where I would usually tell you to subscribe, but I can't do it anymore. I'm going to tell you to subscribe, and then YouTube is going to decide that we can't reach you even though you subscribe to this channel, and then I'll say hit the notification bell, and then the notification bell won't even be there anymore. I don't know what to say. More than likely, you'll find my face in a milk carton. But do what you can to stop it. It probably won't do much.